Welcome back, everybody. This is Brothermutant here. Today we're going to talk about the second part of our video. This is the Excel spreadsheet that I promised you. This was literally something I had done before the first video, so it's not actually finished. That's not to say that it isn't helpful. This is my method for when I literally decide what kind of spells I want to grab for something as precious as an Eldritch Scion, something that literally has limited spell picks. This could be just as applicable to something like an Inquisitor. Anyone that doesn't have a spell book proper, quote unquote, that can literally copy spells into the book and therefore get everything. So it works for Inquisitor, like I said, it works for a Sorcerer, would work for obviously the Eldritch Scion. What do? Well, normally I grab the spells that I'm reasonably certain I'm going to grab and I line them up. And I can usually put them in based on the level that they are, and then I order them based on damage type. So as you can see here, we have different categories. So fire damage, cold, acid, electric, or elemental. Sonic, which is elemental but not the traditional 4. Force damage, physical damage is still applicable in many cases. No, I don't worry about it so much because again you have a weapon. Divine damage is actually the one category here, at least the one category that I've tested for that I don't have damage for. Now there could be a way around that. If you want a specific type of Aasimar, they get Searing Light as a free spell pick, a level 0 spell, once a day. It's a race spell. It's a nice spell. It's like 5d6 or 5d8 damage or some such. It's variable depending on if it attacks undead or constructs or whatever. But the point is it's divine damage, if memory serves. There's of course unholy damage, negative damage, which seems weird that there's both negative and unholy. Same with divine and positive. I assume that those would be the same categories, but I don't know why they're different, but they are different. We don't have much in the way of negative damage. We don't have much in the way of positive damage. We don't have much in the way of magic damage. Now that's not to say we couldn't, and that's again what this is about. We literally list our spells like this, give the damage ranges, which is what you're seeing in each cell, the 1d6, 5d6 for example. And again, that literally tells me how much damage I can expect, what levels are missing things like fire damage or cold damage. And again, this helps me be that Batman / MacGyver of the wizarding world, so I can literally have a spell for every occasion. If I need fire damage from 1 through 6, hopefully I have one. Same with cold, acid, electric, again, ideal case scenarios. And in many cases, we will not be able to meet those criteria. It's just the way it is. An acid spell, for example, is a common example. Acid damage I can get at level 0. I could get it at level 1 if I grab Corrosive Touch, but you're not going to. And again, it's one of those where I'm okay with that. The acid splash may not be amazing at 1d3 of damage, plus 1 obviously if point blank shot is included. But that's pretty lackluster. But remember, we do have Sense Vitals as a possible spell pick. You better believe I'm going to grab it. And anything that you do with a ranged race spell, single target attack, or a melee touch attack, or your weapon attack, gets that 5d6 maximum damage added to it in the same damage type. So while 1d3 plus 1 doesn't look impressive, and it isn't, 1d3 plus 1 plus 5d6 of sneak attack acid damage is pretty goddamn pimp. So again, there's ways around my limitations that I self-impose. I actually look at stuff like this though and say, okay, well, I don't need Corrosive Touch. Is there something else I can get? And as you can see, at level 2, I am missing Acid Arrow. And again, I felt that when I tested this build out, and I'm like, oh, I don't need it. I'll be fine. I have Dragon's Breath. I have Acidic Spray. I have, of course, Acid Splash, and of course, Sense Vitals at level 9. I'll be fine. I did feel not having that spell. I did feel not having Acidic Fog, again, a level 6 spell. Yes, I had Dragon's Breath. I could switch it over to the acid type of beam or a cone, so there was that option. But it's still one of those where sometimes a set it and forget it spell is extremely helpful. Again, for example, you're immune to acid damage. I'm paralyzed, but I'm standing in the acid fog. They're having to come into the fog to beat me to death. They're still taking damage from me. That's not amazing, but it may be enough to kill them off and keep me alive. Just saying, there's reasons to like certain spells like this. So again, did feel the missing acid part of my picks. And again, this is how I'll adjust and therefore go back and tweak the build a little more. Take different spell picks, see what's missing, and again, that's what this Excel spreadsheet's all about. You can see, of course, that fire damage, and this is not every fire spell that I picked, of course, but this is a solid choice. We have plenty of fire damage from start to finish. The only thing that's really missing here is, of course, a cantrip. There isn't any. Same with the electric damage. By the way, there's no electric cantrip for us. Sadly, we don't get Jolt, which kind of seems like a mistake in my part. Or not my part, in the dev's part, I should say. But it's one of those where they just don't give it to you. So it's what it is. Deal with it. You'll be fine. Notice at the very least we do get positive energy damage in the form of Disrupt Undead. It's the only one I get. And it's not to say there might not be another one out there. I just couldn't find any in our spell list. Again, when I mean out there, just like with our Divine missing damage, there was a way to get it back if I want a specific heritage, a specific race. So again, there is the potential maybe that there's some positive damage out there. I just didn't see it. Negative energy damage you'll see is missing completely, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there. We do have negative energy damage in a spell called Umbral Strike. It's half cold, half negative energy damage if memory serves. So again, I didn't pick it, but I could have added it. It's only at level 6, so there's not a whole lot of utility there. Still a good spell. Again, if you were a Raycaster, you're probably picking it up. And again, you'll be happy for the fact that you now have negative energy damage as part of your repertoire. Magic damage. You see that we only have Phantasmal Killer here at 3d6, and again the question mark, that's just to remind me that, remember, it's a save or suck spell, where if they don't make their save, they die. If they make their save, but then they fail the next one, or sorry, if they fail the first save but make the second one, the Fortitude save, then they won't die necessarily, but they will take 3d6 of magic damage. This is one of the only two ways I can think of that we have magic damage in the game, which again to me seems weird, because when I play D&D anyway, and many times, maybe I'm getting it wrong just because I'm remembering wrong, I am old after all, magic damage is usually force damage. So magic missile would fall under this category, but apparently it does not. And again, my same argument with unholy versus negative. Why the hell are these separate categories in Divine and Positive? I thought those were the same thing. Apparently I'm mistaken. So maybe it's just Pathfinders. Maybe it's just, the upgraded editions that I'm just not keeping up with. So that's a thing. But this is not the only magic damage spell that we could have grabbed. Another one was Serenity, an enchantment, level 6 spell. And similarly, it does 3d6 of damage per round for every bad guy that basically fails their check and then starts to attack you. Every time they attack you in a combat round, for one round, or for that round, they'll take 3d6 of magic damage, basically because of the grief of attacking you or something, I don't know. But it is magic damage. There may be another one in here. I just can't remember if it's magic, negative, or something weirder. But Disintegrate falls under one of these categories. I just can't remember which. Probably magic is my guess. But I could be mistaken on that. It could be negative for all I know, or unholy damage. But it's a whooping amount of damage. And again, I did not pick it. You may, if you went, dex-based build and went point-blank master, for instance. But this is, again, how I will set stuff up and look at stuff. Now, before we go further, you can use this information, set up your own, obviously, and there's, as you'll see here in a moment, different ways for me to set up the categories. So let's actually get to those categories, okay? And we're back. Now, here's the categories that I have, again, made. Notice I've broken them apart by damage type and spell level. So for level 1, just for my damaging spells that I personally think I'm going to pick. Doesn't mean this is my only list, but this is the ones I'm probably going to stay with. This is what I can expect. Some fire damage, cold damage, electric, sonic, force. Now, of course, this is some spells that, of course, you'd have to pick up for free, which is somewhere later down the pipe. So that's always going to be a thing, but it would be a level 1 spell. We have the damage ranges, as you can see over here, whether I've employed any meta magics to cast them. Obviously, at level 1, you're not, so all of these should be none. But you'll see our DC max range. Now, what is that based on? I put in my tooltip here that this assumes that I have the +2 toggle on. Remember, you're a true magus. You have your charisma 34. Remember, it's 24 by the end of my build. And then you can increase that, as far as I know, a maximum of 10 more points. So 34 is the max. That's a +12 to our DC check. Then we have elemental focus and greater elemental focus. In my case, fire. You may choose cold. You may go electric or acid, which would be a mistake in my opinion, but up to you. And of course, 4 in evocation. Where did those 4 come from? 2 came from spell focus and greater spell focus evocation, and the other 2 comes from school power, power of school, or whatever the hell it's called. It's that feat that we get for being the Arcane Bloodline. Level 15, I believe. So again, a solid +4 now for our evocation spells. And notice again, if any meta magic, in my case, because I didn't go heighten, any of them get employed, I get a +1 as well. Heighten is different. Heighten is the one that it's variable depending on the heighten spell. For instance, I could take a level 1 Burning Hand spell, heighten it to level 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 if I had heightened meta magic. What would that mean? That means it literally is the same spell, same damage, nothing's different. It's just the different level that it's cast at is actually treated as its casting level. So that means the DC check would be 31 in this case. At level 2 it'd be 32, and at at level 3 it'd be 33. You get the idea. Just keep going up and up and up. That's why heighten is so powerful. But that's all it does. And I don't say that in a negative way. It makes your spellbook huge. Because if you go through and heighten everything, literally everything level 1 can be level 2 through 6. Everything level 2 can be anything 2 through 6. And so by the end of your build, your level 5 and 6 spell books alone are freaking huge. If you literally take every spell that you can cast and heighten them, your level 6 spell book will contain every spell you have access to. That's pretty big. That's hugely big. That's overpoweringly big. And again, would you necessarily need to heighten something like Magic Missile to level 6? No. But if you need instantaneous damage and you have a level 6 spell and I can't miss, and this is important and it needs to be force damage, well, there you go. You have a reason for using it. So heighten actually is more powerful than I give it credit for. It's just so big that I just can't seem to want to take it on a build. And that's wrong logic, I know that, but it's me, and I'm happy with the fact that I picked 3 meta magics in Reach, Extend, and Empower. So I'm fine with that. I have plenty of options, so I don't feel gimped in any stretch of the imagination by not going heighten. But again, if you want to, it is there. Feel free to take it, or maximize, or quicken. I don't recommend either of those, but it's up to you to make those decisions. Notice when we talk about our DC check, you can see that I've labeled them color-coded, if you will. For level 1, you see I have a green, a yellow, and a red. So best, decent, and worst case scenario. And worst is subjective. This is cold, snowball spell, conjuration spell. Best case scenario for me right now, not counting magic gear and blah blah blah, but with all the information above here, it'll cast as a DC check of 25. Now what does that mean? Well, let's take it from the perspective again of a wizard or a sorcerer that doesn't have any specialty in cold, doesn't have any specialty in conjuration. It's just a wizard with a really, really high intelligence, like 34, like our charisma, casting this spell. What DC check would they expect to get? Okay, so level 1 spell, so 10 is base, plus 1 for the level of the spell, it's level, then it's an 11. Then they add their intelligence for a wizard's modifier. Let's say it's, again, 34, so a plus 12. So 11 and 12 is 23. That's what they could expect. Now again, could they get spell focus and greater spell focus? Sure, 23 would go to 25. Now they're equal to us. Could they get elemental focus cold and greater elemental focus cold as well, pushing their 25 up to a 27? Okay, now they're beating me. But the point still is, I'm fine. It's not subpar. It's on par with what it should be. It's not gimped. It's just normal. So red may look like, oh no, don't even think of it. No, it's still there for a reason. It's just to illustrate worst case scenario. If I really needed to hit for whatever reason, let's say the DC check matters, because in many cases they do, then I'm probably hitting with the green ones. It's just a visual cue for me to remind me, hey, this is your best case scenario. And again, the more you cast the spells, the more you get familiar with them. But again, this will change depending on whether you go fire versus cold, evoker versus conjure, or transmutation, or whatever. So again, this is just for my edification, if you will. Notice I also put down if they have any kind of extras, like extra damage sometimes. Sometimes it has extra effects that are interesting, temp HP. The condition effects staggered seem to be a lot here. And the reason for that is you're seeing it because Snowball is in multiple levels. Why is that? Because I have my regular Snowball, then I have it Reach or Extended, and then I have it either Empowered or Reach and Extended, because you can combine them. That's a +2 now, just like Empowered is a +2 to that spell, which is why it's level 3. And then of course I can get it to be Empowered and Reached or Empowered and Extended, and again now it's level 4, and you get the idea. So you're going to see Staggered a lot, you're going to see Dazed a lot, you're going to see Stun a decent amount. Where is my Sonic? Here you go. Stunned, stunned, and stunned again. So again, we do have options. Not a lot of diversity here, but they are useful. But again, it illustrates another point. There's only one on here. It's in 2 different locations. But there's only one on here that is paralysis / entangled. It's here, and again here at Icy Prison when you upgrade it. Why is that important? Because this is the only paralysis spell you have, Icy Prison. This is why I say when I'm going to get Icy Prison as soon as possible, because it's the only version of this spell that I have that does paralysis effect. I want it ASAP. And that's at level 13. That's the reason behind it. I look at that and say, is it amazing damage? No, it's decent. And again, if it ticks for the full 20 minutes that it could last on a target, yeah, it'll hurt the son of a bitch. But that's not realistic, and I'm not going to let that happen. The paralysis effect, though, is amazing. And again, the fact that it's the only spell that I have currently, anyway, on my list that can do that means I'm probably want it sooner than later. So I make that hard decision. Okay, level 13, definitely want that spell. It's as soon as I can grab it, I'm grabbing Icy Prison. Just like Sense Vitals at 9. It's as soon as you can do sneak attack damage. Why wouldn't you want that spell? Just saying. You know, this is the reason it makes the cut. Now, when I do this, I also look at other things. Notice how the damage types, color-coded, of course, over here to make it easier on myself, but notice how I have plenty of fire spells, as you can see, from start to finish. Not surprising, you are a fire guy. Does that mean I need them all? Hence, the question here is this spell necessary? Maybe. If I get this one, you know, then again it fills up over here because I can be empowered. So I have a level 1 version and a level 3 version of Burning Hands. Then, if I grab that spell, do I really need now Fireball? Again, is this one necessary? Again, I have to make that decision. It's a great spell. It's a solid DC check, but so is Burning Arc. I don't have it at the same level that I'm grabbing Fireball. Burning Arc's going to come way later in the build, probably right around level 19, quite frankly. Maybe 17, but I can't imagine that at 17, Burning Arc is the first thing I want to go to. I'm already missing out on not having Battering Blast at level 13, thanks to my need for having Icy Prison, this guy here. So again, at 17, the next pick probably will be either Battering Blast for some solid single target damage again. You know, Scorching Ray is amazing, don't get me wrong, but there's only so much we can do with Scorching Ray if they're immune to fire damage, right? So again, there's reasons to want to, you know, switch it up, if you will. So again, that's important. I'm still missing Ear-Piercing Scream. Not saying I'm grabbing that at 17, but it's, again, a valid point. Notice I'm also going to be missing out on, where'd you go? Obsidian Flow and Tar Pool. Will I get them? Sure. Do I need them at 17? Again, I have fire damage. They do more than fire damage. So again, it's kind of, you know, I like them. Sure, I like them. But are they crucial at 17? Can I wait till 19 to pick them up? And in many cases, just like with Bone Shatter, I'll probably have to say yeah, because there's probably something better at 17 that I must get. And again, Battering Blast is a fine example of that. So again, this helps me pick stuff like that out. Then, while we're talking about damage types and damage categories, or ranges, excuse me, notice something else. I've also put over on the side here my quote-unquote best case scenario for how much damage I can expect. What does this mean? Again, caveats are all above here. So if it's a maximized spell and it's an empowered spell, how it gets that way, that's on you. But if you can do all that, Burning Hands will do this much damage. Not really. Why do I say not really? Because you also have to have this cool ass necklace. This is the necklace of 4 elements, or it's amulet of 4 elements, something like that. It's the one that if it's fire, cold, electric, or acid damage, for every die, remember this is 5d4, so 5 dice. For every die of fire damage, you get another +1 damage. So 5d4 plus 5. So again, minimum now would be 10, maximum now would be 25. Again, if it's maximized. So that's 25, and then you empower it, and again, 25 now, 50% of it would be 37.5. They round down. That's why you're seeing the 37 here. Okay. Notice, since there's no way that I know of to get a piece of gear that buffs your sonic damage in the same way, sonic damage, even though it's 5d6, just like Snowball, just like Shocking Grass, they can get up to 52. It only goes up to 45. But again, this is information that I need. It's not that, oh, then sonic damage is garbage, don't bother getting it. No, I like the different damage type, and I like the Dazed effect, and it's an evocation spell with a solid DC check. There's plenty of reasons for me to like the spell. That's not what this is about. What this is about is when I look at a target and I say, are they susceptible to any of these types of damage? Not particularly. They're just as easily to get hit by one as the other. Well, do I need an auto-hit spell? So it definitely lands. Ear-Piercing Scream will do more damage than Magic Missile if I maximize and empower it. I'm just saying, best case scenario, whichever is the higher one is more likely the one to do the most damage, even if I don't empower or maximize it, or have this kick-ass necklace, right? So again, 45 is definitely better than the 35 or 37 of Magic Missile. Why is this one question marked? Well, I assume it's the 35 one. I don't know this. I haven't tested it. What do I mean? Remember, Magic Missile is 5 separate missiles that do 1d4 damage plus 1. So that's a minimum of 2, a maximum of 5. That's why you see 225 times 5, because there's 5 missiles at best case scenario. Now, I don't know that it calculates the maximize would be 5 per, and then I don't know if they calculate the empowered per missile or just lump all the damage together and say this is how much damage it did. Because if it's per missile, then it's 35. If they lump all the missiles together, it's 5 times 5, that's 25, and then empower 25 damage, and now it'd be 37.5 rounded down to 37. You see that? So again, I'm guessing it's probably not that one, it's probably the 35. So again, I don't know, but it's still important to keep that straight. Notice of these, I also point out things like, just in myself, I didn't make a category for it, but I could. Single target damage versus AoE. Remember, Burning Hands is their only AoE spell, so while it looks lackluster, 37 damage max, even if I hit 2 guys, damage per round now. I just did 74 points of damage. Nothing else is competing with that, and that's all I had to do was hit 2 dudes. So again, there's reasons to like AoE spells. It's not as cut and dry as you think. Of course, your single target spell should be doing hella damage because it's single target. Why would you do anything else but single target damage? Well, because again, if I have multiple guys that can be downed with nothing more than a Burning Hands, why would I single target Snowball, Shocking Grasp, and Ear Piercing Extreme 3 dudes? That's 3 spells wasted when 1 spell would have been enough to take out all 3 guys. That's why you love your AoE. I don't have to tell you this. This is just, again, how I'm thinking when I make up my list. Now, when I do this, I also look at the category and say, what's missing? So you see I got Fire, Cold, Electric, Sonic, Force. So far what's missing, and this is not every spell, by the way. Again, I didn't put the magic one in here, the Phantasmal Killer, because again, it's random, and so you can't rely on the damage. Remember, it's a save or suck spell. They die, or they take damage, or nothing happens. I don't know which category it is at that point, so I can't rely on the damage. Serenity I could have put in here, but I'm not going to pick the spell, so I didn't. You'll notice things like Umbral Strike are not in here again. Acid Fog's not in here. Amazing spell. But again, when you look at this, look at stuff and say, what's missing? Well, of course, there's no acid damage. Again, Corrosive Touch is the only way for me to get acid damage here for level 1. Is that necessary? Not really. Remember, have Acid Splash. It's not amazing. And again, I did feel it when I didn't have Acid Arrow on my build. So again, when you get to level 2 and see, again, it's also acid is missing. That, again, is my indication. Well, maybe I don't need all these spells, or another spell that I'm not seeing here, like a Flare Burst or Expeditious Retreat I don't have to take necessarily, or for level 2, like maybe I don't need Web or Glitter Dust or something else where I can literally take Acid Arrow. Then it gets back on the list, and then I have a nice little green category for it for level 2, and however many other ways that I can empower, reach, extend, maximize, or whatever does work on it. So again, I could get acid damage back in the build for levels 2 and 3 pretty easy. Having said that, I haven't yet. So again, this is what draws my attention. I see that, and I see that level 3 is the same, and then I get it back at level 4. Not much, but it's, Dragon's Breath is solid damage. And then, of course, we see Acidic Spray with really good damage, and then back again to Dragon's Breath when it's the empowered version. Notice that the damage didn't change. It's 126 and 126. Why? Because, again, it's still best case scenario. This is the empowered and maximized version with that kick-ass necklace on. This is the empowered, maximized version with the kick-ass necklace on. It's empowered already by nature of it being a level 6 spell. So I know how it got empowered. Then I have to find a way to maximize it. Obviously, we're talking about meta magic rods or your maximized magic. And again, this is how I literally can make these actually work. Because again, you can't have more than one meta magic rod on at a time. So I can't empower and maximize at the same time using that trick. I have to go some other way. I have to have the meta magic feat of one kind or another. I have to have maximized magic, or empowered magic would work too. Again, there's ways around it. But again, you're pretty much limited to 2 increases. 2 increases is all I really need, empowered and maximized. So again, when I go through this, I look at stuff like, oh, what else is missing? Notice that I have electric, 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 electric. Oh, a big hogging gap of electric. Why is the 5 not here? Well, what was the other electric spells? Shocking Grass upgraded, again upgraded, Dragon's Breath, and Shocking Grass, and now I can empower it as well as Chain Lightning. So again, what's missing? Lightning Bolt. So again, I could get it here for 3, and then I could empower it to make it a level 5 version. Or if I don't want that, again, I can just as easily grab Shadow Evocation as a free spell pick. That's fire or cold or electric or sonic damage, depending on what spell I cast. That adds a lot of utility to level 5 and level 6, because, by the way, you can extend, weirdly, Shadow Evocation spells. Why? I assume because of Volcanic Storm and Ice Storm and Shout. So that's to your benefit. But it still works on Fireball, still works on the Lightning Bolt. So I can make a Fireball that's extended, even though there's no way to quote-unquote extend it. That's funny to me. But again, it's not the best spell category. It's an illusion spell, not an evocation. Yes, there's 2 fire spells in there, so I benefit from the fire aspect for those 2 spells only, but I can't seem to care. That's why I say, maybe I really do want to get Lightning Bolt for level 3, and then of course make its empowered version for level 5. That would fill that gap. And again, when I was testing in the game, I did feel that. I'm like, man, it'd be really nice to have Electric Tack right here at level 5. Just saying, acid damage is nice, but when they're immune to it and they're immune to all your fire, it's pretty much cold, unholy, and force. And that's all good, but that's single target there, that single target, that single target. Sonic, I had Shout, but 45 damage, AoE, really? That's kind of some lackluster shit. And then for cold, I had single target, AoE. The only real AoE I had going for me when they're immune to my fire and my acid attacks was Cone of Cold. Thank God I had it, but it wasn't the point. It was one of those where it's like, man, it would have been nice to have electric in here too. Because you could line up those beams maybe a little better, shoot farther at safer at distance. Just saying, there's reasons to want the spell. So again, I'll go through this and I'll decide on these things. Notice other stuff like Hellfire Rays in 2 categories of unholy damage and fire damage, because it splits its damage. This is your best single target damaging spell. 473 points of damage, best case scenario. But it's not the best case scenario, because remember, you can sneak attack 1, 2, or 3 of those beams, and I didn't add point blank shot PBS, and you get a +1 to the attack within a certain range. I didn't add it to this either. It's only at 3 points if all 3 beams hit. It's not the point. It's missing. So again, there is better, but this is still pretty solid. I say 473 is looking pretty damn good. This is why it's an amazing spell, and you definitely want it. Now again, do you want the other ones? I didn't put them on the list, but Umbral Strike is 20d6 of damage. So do the math on it, okay? 20d6. So maximum is 120. Remember, it's cold / negative energy damage. However, your Cool Ash Necklace, I believe, works on that. Again, the damage is split in half after the calculation. So it doesn't know not to give you extra cold points, because remember, half is cold and half is negative. It calculates the total number and then just divides by 2. So that's to your benefit. So 120 was our maximum, I said, right? With the necklace on, you can add another 20, because 20 dice were used. So another 20 of cold, quote-unquote, damage is added to it. So it's 140 now. Then you empower it. So that's 50% more. So 140 and half is 70. Add that to 140, that's 210. So I can expect to do, just like Chain Lightning, a single target now, 210 damage. Half being cold, half being negative, which is not even on our list. So again, you already know what it does now. Single target, is that anywhere near 473? No, but if they're immune to fire, 473 gets cut down quite a bit. What does it get cut down to? 200 and what, 35, 36, around there, 236. Let's just round it to that. Again, 210 is not 236, but it's cold damage, so maybe they're susceptible to cold. They'll take more damage from cold, and it has other effects associated with it. And you're assuming, perhaps incorrectly, that all 3 of your Hellfire Rays will hit. Remember, with Umbral Strike, it's only 1 beam. Now, yes, you can miss with that one too, but if it hits, you're doing full damage. With Hellfire Ray, I have to have all 3 that hits so that I get the full damage. So again, this 473 could be 2/3 as strong or 1/3 as strong. That's a big oomph if you really are relying on that 473 to land every time. Just saying. So there's reasons to like and hate Umbral Strike. Same with Disintegrate. It's 40 d6, so again, I don't have to do the math on it. You would assume it's, actually I will have to do the math on it. You would assume it's twice as much, so instead of 210, because of the 20 d6 for Umbral Strike, it would be 420, right? It is not. Remember, the necklace doesn't work on it. It's not elemental damage. It's whatever Disintegrate is, like magic or positive energy, who the hell knows. But it's not fire, acid, cold, or electric, so we have to redo the calculation. So 40 d6 is 240 maximum. Half of that for empowered version, so what is that, 240, 120, so 360 points of damage is what you could expect from a maximized empowered version of that spell. With that much damage, again, single target and one beam, it's still not as good as Hellfire Ray, assuming Hellfire Ray's all 3 beams hit. But if you take just one of those beams away, suddenly Disintegrate's better. Now, of course, they have to fail the check. If they make the check, half damage. That's the downside of both Umbral Strike and Disintegrate. Half damage for Umbral Strike, like not even half damage, it's like an eighth of the damage or some shit for doing Disintegrate. If they make the check, instead of it being 40 d6, it drops to like 5 d6. It's garbage. It does damage at least, but it's still one of those where it's like, what the hell, man? So really, really bad when they make those checks. But again, if you're going to be a transmuter instead of evoker like me, Disintegrate's going to be pretty sweet. If you're going to be, what's the other one, necromancy instead of evoker like me, then again, Umbral Strike is going to be a solid pick. So again, there's reasons to go that route. From here, the only other thing to really point out would be damages per round. Okay, so not only do we have our instant damage, our splash damage, our immediate hit damage, you'll notice that I don't have our molten orb on this list because I've already made the decision I don't want it. From here, other stuff that's not on the list, like I said, acid arrow, acid fog, are tick 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 spells, much like Sirocco. So again, you see, best case scenario, it's 24 to 44 damage normally. Maximized and empowered, I can get that little goober up to a solid 72 damage a round with that necklace on. That's a lot of oomph. Now, as amazing as 473? No, but give me 4 rounds and it's going to be pretty damn close. 5, 6, 7 rounds. This thing will last for 20 rounds. So again, a lot of damage, and it's AoE style versus single target. So again, you can see the appeal. Even Tarpool makes the cut for this reason, because it's 105 instant damage of fire, if anyone that's in the effect, and then anyone that crawls into the effect or is still stuck in the effect will take, best case scenario, 21 fire damage a round. That's a lot of damage still. It's not amazing, but again, if you had, say, resist energy on at the middle level, remember it's a damage reduction of 10, then 20, then 30 is the best case scenario. If they're only getting 20, they will at least take damage. It's not amazing, but it is damage. So it's interesting to me. Same with like Obsidian Flow, 105, and then maximum and empowered 9 physical damage. Remember, the necklace doesn't do any good for physical damage, but that's assuming, there's a lot of caveats to that one. That's assuming that they literally fall down in it, because it's the sharp glass that they're falling into, and then they stand back up, and then they fall down again. So it's not really 9 physical damage a round. It could be. They'd have to be really weird, where they're falling down, getting up, falling down, getting up. That's a odd scenario. I can't imagine that being normal. So I just put the 9 in there and call it good. Because if I can make them fall once, chances are they're staying down. But it is there. Again, you don't see things like Ice Storm and Firestorm on this build. Remember, that's not only cold damage or fire damage, but also physical damage. I've already pretty much decided I don't want either. There's other ones I'm sure that are missing. Again, like Acid Fog is missing. Solid pick. And the damage on that one I can calculate for you right now. That's 2d6 of damage per round. 12 is the best case scenario, plus 2 from the necklace, putting it at 14, and then empowering that 14 would turn it into 21 damage of acid a round. That's a lot. Like I said, it's not amazing, but if it's a set it and forget it, and you're immune to at least 20 to 30 points of acid damage every round, or every attack, which you can with resist energy by the time you get that spell, you're doing fine. Make sure you got resist energy acid on. Cast that shit at your feet. Stand in the cloud and let the bastards, even if they paralyze you, take damage. It's kind of helpful. I don't like that the tooltip was broken on that one. It falsely says that people shooting into the cloud, well, you get a bonus to your armor class for people that's outside of the cloud trying to shoot you. I was actually in the cloud swinging, and it says that when you're in the cloud doing melee attacks, you should have a -2 to your swing and a -2 to your damage. I didn't check the damage part because I was floored by the fact that it was actually giving me a -8 to my swing for being in my own cloud. That sucks. If it was the -2, I could totally stomach it and say, fine, I'll just hide in the cloud and fight in here. That's fine. But taking a -8 to your swing, screw you, man. There's still reasons to want the spell, but I don't like that the tooltip's wrong. That's not cool, and I'll point that out again when we finish the build, because again, I probably am grabbing that spell because it is still extremely useful. So again, go through with your spell picks. I encourage you to highly do something like this. Go through, see what you can do, and again, it really helps, by the way, when you're getting meta magics and you don't have a solid grasp of which ones are working where. Find out this, pick your spells in rough that you're going to get your meta magics too, do a fake build in the game, and then say, okay, who gets, extend, who gets reach, who gets empowered, who gets maximized, blah, blah, blah. Write it down on a little notepad, then come out here into an Excel spreadsheet, make your own, and see what kind of categories you can make that Burning Hands go to. In this case, it can only be empowered with the meta magics that I've grabbed. So level 1, level 3. For you, maybe you went maximized instead of empowered. So again, it'd be level 1, level 4. So again, differences. So know those differences. Take a look then at a spreadsheet like this and say, okay, where are my holes? Where am I missing something? Do I really need electric damage here? Yeah, I'd like to have it just in case. So again, is there a way for me to get it? Oh yeah, I definitely missed grabbing lightning bolt. I'll come back and grab it. That's why I do this. Now I know this was a very boring video. I do apologize for that, but it is important. And again, it does really help me a lot more than you think. Same with your extras. The last thing I will say, since I didn't talk about it because it's not damage related, this doesn't include every spell, obviously, and it certainly doesn't include my spells that have effects that don't do damage. Again, think of your web spell, your grease spell, glitter dust, and others. Again, there's plenty of spells out there that are awesome. We're still grabbing them in many cases. So when I say I only have a lot of staggered, stunned, and dazed effects, a couple of prone/bull rush effects, prone from the knockback/knockdown of battering blast, prone again here from Sirocco. So again, I have a couple of ways to make targets prone. That's helpful for when I really need to knock them down into either tar pool or obsidian flow. Where'd you go, you little bastard? Right here, obsidian flow with the physical damage they'll take when they fall down into the glass. So again, I have a couple ways. There's some fatigue/exhaustion effects, both with Bone Shatter and with Sirocco. So again, I have some utility here, just not a whole lot. But remember, this is not showing you the grease spell where it's knocking them prone. It's not showing them the web spell where they're entangled in it. That's a massive penalty to their swing and their dex and their reflex, and it's a concentration check to their spells. So there's plenty of other stuff that you're just not seeing here. And again, you could add that to your list too. Feel free. It'll just be weird because you'll have these gaps where there's no damage. It'll be like, in my opinion, a white cell. There'll be no damage, and then you'll be like, what the hell do I even have that for? Oh yeah, it's grease spell. Oh, okay. So again, that's fine. You can do it any way you want, but I don't because it clouds my mind. And I know I'm going to grab those fluff filler type stuff anyway. And I'm not putting in spells, like I said, that are, like my magic spell. That's also an instant kill spell if they fail both saves. You can if you want. I didn't. But I can take Phantasmal Killer, just so we're clear. Phantasmal Killer is a level 4 spell if memory serves. And I can empower it for sure, so I can turn it to level 6 guaranteed. I think the reach on that is actually something that can be reached as well. So I'm sure I could go from 4 to 5, 5 to 6. So I have multiple categories for that same spell. That's not amazing. Again, we're not an illusionist, but when I do the illusion build for you guys, again, something like this will go a long way to help pick out and tease out what spells am I going to grab and specialize in, along with my illusion spells, right? So that's kind of nice. But I think that's all I really wanted to show you here today. Again, I know this video is long. I do apologize. The next video, for those of you that are wondering, is going to be the actual finished build. It'll be this is how I level it. This is why I'm leveling it this way, and it'll be a long video. I apologize again in advance for that one. The reason it's going to be long is because I have to give you the reason that I'm getting this spell at this level. I have to give you the reason that I'm grabbing this feat at this level. Not just, I want it and I know it's cool. No, this will open up all this stuff. For instance, not to harp on it too much, but when we talk about meta magics, I have 3 to pick from. What are you going to pick first? Reach, extend, empower? You know, it depends on when I'm grabbing it. Remember, if empower is not going to be useful when I could grab one, why would I grab empower? Get that later. I mean, yeah, it'll be nice in another level or two, but until that time, why get a feat that's garbage right now? So again, it's like when you, people say, oh, I'll get maximized at the first possible opportunity. Do you have access to level 4 spells yet? No. Then why the hell are you getting maximized now? Is there not something else you can grab? Oh, sure. Well, then grab something useful. Get maximized later. Just push it back a little bit. That's how I do that stuff. Because again, if you can't use the feat that you're grabbing currently, then why the hell are you grabbing it? There's some times where you have no choice, but it's still, I'd rather it be a tight build where it's, this is coming along here at level 3. I'm getting this one at level 7 because of X, Y, or Z. I'm getting this one here at 9 because it sets me up for the one that I need at level 11, which is the soonest I could grab that one at 11. So again, there's method behind the madness. I will explain that as we level the character up proper in the game. Again, it will be, for me, a strength-based build, Fire Evoker, and I still have yet to see if I can get spell specialization in there. I got a feeling I'm going to drop Arcane Strike and take it, because it's the only feat I know for sure that I don't quote-unquote need for the build to work. And I'm actually kind of okay with that. It sucks, but again, if I was more of a fighter than a caster, then I'd want Arcane Strike back. Since I'm more of a caster, in my opinion, now than a fighter, then I want better spells, which means spell specialization sooner than later, so that I can start upgrading my spells, get more magic missiles every casting, do more damage with ear-piercing screen or burning hands because I'm considered a higher level. Get more beams from things like Scorching Ray or Battering Blast, or get that third ever-precious Hellfire Beam, so I really get up to that 473 points of damage per triple beam hitting a target. Just saying, there's a lot of reasons to want spell specialization, and I got a feeling it's going to make the cut. But with that, my name's Brothermutant. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, tell me what you guys think. I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.